However, when they were racing, they didn't like each other. And anytime two alpha males clash, there's a problem. There's a big bang. And that's what happened when Mike Bast and Rick Woods started to clash, because Rick Woods was sponsored by Speedway Research, Ed Schaefer, and Rick Woods had the best bikes, good nitro in those bikes. He was a smooth, fast rider. And Mike Bast, he was just up and coming hard charger. And he won at Rick Woods' titles. And he was just, adamant that he wanted to win. But at the beginning, Rick Woods was really dominating Mike Bast. But that soon changed as time went on and Mike progressed. And he started giving Rick Woods a run for his money. And then soon after that, he started surpassing Rick Woods regarding the main event wins and stuff. And Mike started becoming a dominant rider. I'm sure Rick was not real happy about Mike's successes, because when you're a dominant rider and then somebody surpasses you, it's pretty much impossible to be happy at that time. But that's the way life is. People, they progress and develop and age, and it's a cycle in Speedway that oftentimes happens. And Mike Bast soon went past Rick Woods and became a very dominant rider, to the point that Rick Woods could not keep up with Mike Bast. And kind of no longer really Rick Woods was the serious threat, because Mike Bast was coming into his prime, and slowly Rick Woods was going out of his prime. And he had a lot of racing, Rick, and I talked to Gene about that. And I think part of it was just Rick was tired. He had raced and he had probably been burning out a little bit. And the racing gets you fairly exhausted and tired and everything like that. So Mike Bast, he became the dominant rider of the 1970s. And Rick Woods slowly was fading away as a top rider. And Mike Bast just dominated the world of Speedway to the point of winning scratch mains time after time. People were booing the villain, Mike Bast. Nobody wanted Mike Bast to win. There was rewards in the program for people who could beat Mike Bast in the main event. And slowly Rick Woods was fading out of sight from that superstar that Rick Woods was at the beginning, and slowly fading to a very good racer, but no longer a threat to Mike Bast. And that's just the way it worked. And Mike Bast won 7 out of 10 United States Speedway Championships in the 70s. His brother, Steve, won 1. I believe it was like 74. And it was just a domination of Rick Woods. He won 2 in the 70s. Steve won the 1 in 74. And Mike Bast, he won 7 United States Speedway Championships in the 70s. That probably will never be surpassed by anyone. So what was a rivalry at once, it turned out to be a domination by Michael Bast in the 70s. But one will never forget the great rivalry what Rick Woods had as Michael Bast was coming up in his Speedway career. And Rick Woods did not want Mike to surpass him. And Rick fought. And Rick was a fantastic racer. He was smooth as glass. I have images of Rick Woods in my mind right now as a child watching how good of a rider Rick Woods really was. And he was just fantastic. One of the smooth riders of all time. However, Mike Bast passed him up. And there was no coming back for Rick Woods after Bast passed him up. And Rick, I think, retired somewhere in the later 70s and went on to other things, working on boats and mechanics and stuff. And Rick Woods never went back to riding or racing motorcycles that much. I think he kind of just, that was it. After the Speedway days, Rick Woods was done with riding and racing and stuff. He didn't even ride motorcycles. I think he just was turned into a regular guy, you know, just a normal person, just working and making money and stuff like that. And Mike Bast, he went on and kept racing into the 80s. And although Mike Bast wasn't winning championships in the 80s like he did in the 70s, Mike Bast was always a rider to be feared whenever he was on the racetrack.